What's up, fellas? In the first video today, we're going to be talking about a really interesting NBA trade rumor that's related to the Minnesota Timberwolves and John Collins. Apparently, they are aggressively pursuing him. They would really like to add him to their roster. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. The fit, possible trades, how this would potentially work with Atlanta, why would either team do this, all that good stuff is what we're going to be talking about in the first video of the day. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day in this channel, so it's the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If you're new here, what's up? My name is Tucker. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen and a Linktree link down in the description below. With all those things said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about John Collins and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Collins is a player that's still just 23 years old, that ordinarily a team like Atlanta would love to keep. But there have been some rumors over the last really year and a half about the fact that they wouldn't mind looking at John Collins trade scenarios for two reasons. One, they have to pay him a significant contract in the offseason. He's already declined a $90 million extension from the team, so there are question marks not only in Collins' willingness to return to Atlanta despite his status as a restricted free agent, but also how much value he really provides, how much you really want to pay him compared to the how good of a player he is. Now, Atlanta has shown a history of doing this in the past. They traded away Taurean Prince before they had to pay him, but Collins is on a different level. Collins is a really, really good player, still just 23 years old, looks like a future all-star caliber guy. And, it's not just the money thing either. You don't know if the Trae Young-John Collins relationship is great. They don't seem to be two guys that really kind of see basketball in the same way. And I think Collins wants more respect. He wants, more say in the offense, and he doesn't want Trae to just be doing everything every time down the floor. And all those things are understandable, which leads to a situation in which Atlanta could possibly be looking at making a move and trading away Collins. Now, this specific rumor links Collins to Minnesota, and this is per Shams. It says that the Hawks would be looking for a, quote, high first-round lottery level pick in return for Collins, and I do think that this is a move that Minnesota would be taking a look at. I believe the fact that Minnesota is interested in Collins, but here's the biggest issue I have with a Collins trade in general, and then specific to Minnesota. I know that Shams says they want a high first-round lottery level pick, but this is also an Atlanta team that they don't want to lose this year. They want to make the playoffs. Their coach already got fired. The front office knows if they don't make the playoffs, their jobs are on the line as well. And so I don't see a scenario in which we're talking about, John Collins for a top 5 protected first in 2023. I don't think that is the value Atlanta's looking to get here. Yeah, they'd like to have a pick, but maybe also getting a player that will help them this year. They can't just leave that void on this roster and just get rid of Collins, which makes it, a trade in general a little bit difficult. But when you're looking specifically at Minnesota, here's the best thing I come up with. You can make adjustments to this. You can take off picks, add picks, whatever. But it would be Collins and Tony Snell to Minnesota because, again, Collins only makes like $4 million this year, so matching salary is a little bit difficult. That's why you send Snell out in exchange for Malik Beasley and a 2023 top 10 protected pick from Minnesota. Here's the mindset. If you're Minnesota, you have to go at Atlanta with a strong offer. You cannot just go and say, hey, here's a future first. You have to go at them with an offer that they'll actually be willing to listen to because they're slightly motivated to move Collins, but it's not like they're in any kind of hurry. So this is a deal that would at least get Atlanta to pick up the phone and say, hey, maybe it is worth trading John Collins despite how good he is. Now, Beasley, it's unfortunate. You kind of have to give up a player like Beasley and a pick in this scenario for Minnesota, but here's why you would do it. Collins fits incredibly well there in the front court alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. I think it's pretty clear that he's someone that can play with can play with Cat, is a guy that can be a roll man. He can be a floor spacer, and they both can just do so many interchangeable things that I think it's a really, really cool fit. And as good as Malik Beasley is, and I do really like him as a player, I think there are possible replacements on this roster for Malik Beasley moving forward, those being Anthony Edwards, who was just the first pick in the draft, or any pick that they have, this upcoming year or the following, as they owe their 2021 pick to Golden State top 3 protected. Let's say they get a top 3 protected pick. They can probably find a wing that works really well in the top 3 of this draft. It's going to be more difficult to find a player to replace what is the most glaring hole in this roster at the moment, and that's at the 4 spot, much less a player like John Collins that fits so well alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. So that's the reasoning behind giving up someone like Malik Beasley in exchange for John Collins, and the pick is probably going to be polarizing here. I'm adding this because I know what it would take for Atlanta to really start to listen in a serious way to John Collins trade offers. They're not just going to give them away, and so adding this pick makes them a little bit more motivated to do this. And if I'm Atlanta, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Malik Beasley fits well in this roster. I'd like to have a future pick. Beasley's already been paid. He's going to be, he's going to be making less than Collins is going to be making on his next deal. Why wouldn't I do this? Well, the reason why you wouldn't is because maybe you make the case that your team gets worse this season, all this stuff about not making the playoffs, all those things. But outside of that, I think this is a fair deal for Atlanta. Now, Minnesota, the other thing to keep in mind here is the money of this, right? You're going to have to pay Collins in the offseason. It's going to be worth at least $20 a year. And, as I said, he's already turned down a $90 million extension. So he's going to be looking for big money. And when you make this move, you have to have that in mind, which means that your big three guys are going to be John Collins, D'Angelo Russell, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Until one of those guys gets moved, those are your three quote-unquote max guys. And, I don't know if Collins will get, at an actual max, but he's going to be pretty close, right? And that's not the end of the world. You've got those three guys. You've got Anthony Edwards. You've got the possibility of getting a good rookie in this upcoming draft or in the following. And I think that's why the Minnesota aspect of this is so interesting, because there are the makings of a really talented roster in Minnesota. I think that there are young guys that can be really good. There's obviously guys on the roster that are already good, and Cat and D'Angelo Russell. And they're not as far away from being a relevant Western Conference team as their record would indicate. They've had some health issues, they've had some coaching issues, and their roster doesn't fit super cleanly together. But I think the addition of Collins here, as well as whatever potential could potentially be held in that top 3 potential pick in 2021, that could create a really cool lineup where you've got D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, insert draft pick here, John Collins, Karl-Anthony Towns. Those are all really, really good players. Now, here's my problem with the John Collins trade for Minnesota. Let's say that this trade goes through. I would love to just make that happen tomorrow. The thing that's going to hold Minnesota back in the future is something that's still holding them back right now, and that's the fact that they are awful defensively. And that's not going to get any better when you add John Collins to a group of D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns. So I think the concept here of Minnesota going out and getting a guy that really helps them right now, that they can still surround all these other young guys with, I think that concept makes a lot of sense, specifically at the 4 spot. I think John Collins is a great fit for that. But maybe Collins specifically isn't the guy. Maybe you want someone that's a little bit more defensive oriented. Maybe you want someone that not only complements, Karl-Anthony Towns in the offensive end, but also can make up for some of his mistakes in the defensive end. I'm not sure that player even exists, but you could make the case that there should be more of a priority on defense rather than another, high scoring forward like John Collins. Now, at the end of the day, I really wish I could make this happen tomorrow. I think Atlanta would be interested. I think, you could start to come up with different structures of this where like Atlanta ends up with Victor Oladipo and Houston gets something and Collins goes to Minnesota and Oladipo would really be a really good backcourt partner with Trae Young, but then there's the risk of him leaving in the offseason. I think ultimately, if you're looking at a deal for Atlanta that helps them this season, and then they also get future value and they don't have to pay Collins, I think this is about as good as it gets. And maybe you could make the case if you're a Minnesota fan that you would rather have Malik Beasley and the pick. You don't want to be giving up those 2 assets in exchange for Collins because you don't know if you're going to be good in 2023. Of course, the concept and the idea here is that you are going to be good in 2023, so you're not giving up a significant pick. But I think you could certainly make that argument that Malik Beasley is not a guy that you move in a John Collins trade. But at the end of the day, we'll just have to see, if this is something that Minnesota wants to do. It's one of the more interesting rumors out there, though, because it's odd to see language like this where a team is so aggressively making it clear that they want to go after a particular player, and I think it's a good player for Minnesota to be going after. So keep an eye on this situation with the Timberwolves potentially trading for John Collins, the possible John Collins trade market. Right now, I put it about like a 30% chance that Collins actually ends up being moved, but he's certainly a player to watch, not only right now, but then as we get towards the offseason, if he stays in Atlanta or otherwise, in terms of what kind of value people place on John Collins from a contract standpoint. I think that's one of the main sticking points in Atlanta, as well as his role on the team. And so we'll kind of have to see, how that develops over the next handful of months, but ultimately, this doesn't happen often, but there are a few trades that I kind of wish I could just snap my fingers and make happen, and this is one of them. Put Malik Beasley in Atlanta and put John Collins in Minnesota. I think all those things are really, really interesting. But that is going to be the end of the first video of the day, and I thank you guys very much for watching. The second video later today, we're going to be talking about the Utah Jazz, just some reasons that I quite simply do not believe in them as a championship team this season. I know that they have the best record in the West, but I'm going to be going through a couple of reasons why I'm just not a big Jazz guy. I'm just not a believer in the Utah Jazz. Again, that's going to be the second video of the day, coming out in a handful of hours after this one. But that, as I said, is going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating on the video. Check out more boxes from me. The boxes on screen, as well as on the channel as a whole. You can like the video. You can check out more links from me down in the link tree link in the description below. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a great Monday, and I will see you all next time.